There are some countries where they might not have heard of Prince Andrew and the problems he's been causing the royal family this week. Italy, however, is not one of them. So wonderful, the King said this evening to be back, but he knows, and Italy's press knows, that he hasn't been able to leave the Andrew problem at home.
I think the topic of Prince Andrew is a new saga of the House of Windsor.
The King won't be popping into any of Rome's large bookshops, but were he to do so, he'd find the Italian version of the new memoir by Andrew's accuser. It has the same name, and the front cover says Epstein is the greatest scandal of our time. So what does it mean for tomorrow's significant moment at the Vatican, where a British monarch and the head of the Catholic Church will pray together for the first time in nearly 500 years? The leader of Catholics in England and Wales is here for the historic moment.
For the first time, these two leaders of churches will pray together. They'll not pray one after the other, they'll pray together. It's a long journey to get over those wounds of the past.
And do you think, as the leader, the Supreme Governor of the Church of England, King Charles needs to show some moral guidance when it comes to Prince Andrew?
I think they're family issues, essentially. And like any family, we have to deal with the problems of a family as best we can. But then people need to know that the gravity of what's happened is acknowledged, and in that sense, can eventually be put to rest.
Given the significance of what will happen inside the Sistine Chapel here tomorrow, you can understand why Buckingham Palace wanted to put enough distance between the Prince Andrew story and this visit. Part of the reason why there hasn't been is because MPs in Westminster keep asking about it. Which today included a question to the Prime Minister about Prince Andrew's living arrangements.
Given the revelations about Royal Lodge, does the Prime Minister agree that this House needs to properly scrutinise the Crown Estate? So will the Prime Minister support a select committee inquiry so all those involved can be called for evidence, including the current occupant?
Well, it's important in relation to all properties, Crown properties, that there is proper scrutiny. I certainly support that.
And later the MP for York presented her bill proposing to strip Andrew or anyone else of their titles.
Removal of titles bill.
What it does do is facilitate a pathway by which a title can be removed.
None of it has helped the King in his attempt to focus attention on Rome rather than Royal Lodge.
And I'm joined now by Chris to talk about all this. I mean, look, Chris, there are so many questions for the royal family, aren't there? Including whether they actually believe Prince Andrew in everything he says. But, I'm sure they would say they do, but, in which case, why are they not defending him more? I'm not going to ask you to answer that question. It's impossible. But I guess the point is, what do they do next? Because this is not going away, is it?
No, Tom, the only way to answer that question is, of course, to say that Prince Andrew has always strenuously denied the allegations and still does. And anyone watching News at 10 last night would have heard the ghost writer of Virginia Giuffre's book say that she had no reason to believe that Miss Giuffre was telling anything other than the truth. And look, yes, there are questions to be asked. Some of it, and actually a lot of it, relates to the reign of the previous monarch. Why was it that Queen Elizabeth decided to pay the sums of money that she clearly lent Prince Andrew in order to come to that final settlement? Why was, for example, it Prince Andrew that Queen Elizabeth chose to walk her into that memorial service for Prince Philip, hoping, one imagines, at the time that perhaps her son could find a way out of this in the eyes of public opinion. What I can say, though, Tom, is like here in Rome, where there is, and I've just set out in my report there, why this is such an important and historic event tomorrow. But I don't think Downing Street or the royal family thought they'd be in a position, the eve of this visit, having to clarify whether or not Keir Starmer supported Prince Andrew appearing in front of a select committee to answer questions about his rent arrangements in Royal Lodge. And when you look at it like that, you realise what a mess this whole thing is for everyone concerned.
All right, Chris, thank you very much indeed. Well, let's put all that back here in the studio to Robert. I mean, where would we start with all this, I suppose? I mean, I felt like the government started off hoping, it would sort of fade away, or that the scandal wouldn't run on, or that they could leave it to the palace to take the lead. But increasingly, it seems obvious that they're going to have to do something. What are they going to do, do you think?
Well, I think the position of the Prime Minister is actually sort of unchanged. I don't think he does want to get personally, conspicuously involved, but there is an enormous amount of anger in Parliament. Let's just focus now on the more or less zero rent that he pays on this enormous mansion, Royal Lodge. There's a lot of anger about that among MPs. There is a committee called the Public Accounts Committee, which is probably the only committee that could summon Prince Andrew to account for himself to the House of Commons. I don't think I've been asking people, is there any precedent for this? There isn't, but they could do it. And when I talk to members of that committee, I get the very strong sense that they would like to do it. They sort of have a locus because they have got overview of the public finances. As we know, there are subsidies in terms of special taxes for the royal family. There's the grant that goes to the royal family. There's this weird property company, which is neither public sector or Crown owned, which is called the Crown Estate. Royal Lodge is owned by the Crown Estate. So it's messy, but they could probably find a reason to summon him. And it's a bit like what I said to you last night when it comes to, will they ultimately legislate to strip his titles away? MPs can see public opinion. Public opinion clearly feels Andrew needs to be held to account far more than he has. As I said last night, the status quo won't hold. So I do think the public accounts will do something that will embarrass the royal family, maybe another investigation into their finances. Maybe they will go as far as summoning Prince Andrew. Either way, I think there is enormous pressure on the king to take more action against his brother.
OK, Robert, thank you very much indeed.